What is up, y'all? It is Father Furious. You guys can confess to me your sins, but before you do that, I'm gonna confess mine by showing my stats. From the beginning of fights in Zone 5, which was on November 8th, up until the end of Zone 5, which was on November 18th, and then we had Zone 6. So from beginning of Zone 5 up until the beginning of Zone 6, we're gonna go through my stats and all of my open field reports. So my kill points overall is 1,169,000,000, but that's also with the addition of Zone 6. So if you want to just count Zone 5, from November 8th up until November 18th, I have gained 759 million kill points, and anything after that was done in Zone 6. So just Zone 5 alone, 759 million KP, and from November 18th up until November 23rd, which is today, I have gained about 450 million kill points only in Zone 6 alone. But that is for a different video, because I'm going to show all of my Zone 6 reports in the next video, because I use different commanders, different combinations, and different auxiliary skills. As for dead troops, I have about 1.6 million in total. So let's see, from November 7th up until November 18th, I've gotten about 1.2 million deads in just Zone 5 alone. So you guys can imagine how draining, how exhausting that Zone 5 was. It was really long Zone 5, a 12-13 day Zone 5 non-stop fighting and fort defense, okay? Because again, we are playing against 2359, one of the strongest kingdoms in the game, and their players really go crazy. So the fact that we lasted that long and didn't come under 10 seconds is quite astonishing to me. But that's because we used a condom that reduces sensitivity of your dicks, and in other terms, it is called a fourth wall. Right, next, as for heals, yep, I have 113 million healed troops, which is just a reality of a regular T4 player, because when you use T4, yes, it is cheaper in resources when you are healing, but it costs you much more speed ups because T4 has less health than T5, and that's why you get more severely wounded and your hospitals feel quite faster, so you have to spend more speed ups in healing and healing and healing, right? And that's why my trades are about 50%. So if I have 60 million kills, I have double the amount of heals. There you guys have it. But in that case, KP should be 1-to-1. So if I gained 1.1 billion kill points, it also means I have given the enemy about 1.1 billion kill points, but in T4 terms. So I gave them T4 kills, they gave me T5 kills. It is what it is. Eventually, I will unlock T5 because I already did hit my goal, which was 10 billion kill points as T4 only. I achieved that about a few days ago in Zone 6, on day 1st of Zone 6. So now I shouldn't have any more excuses to not unlock T5. Although I have one excuse, which is having farm accounts. So I was saying I need 20 farm accounts to be able to sustain my resources as T5 player, but looks like with a bit less farms, that's also doable. For example, with 10 or 12 farms, I feel like I should be able to sustain myself, because let's be honest, I fight a lot, right? And that really scares me, being low in resources and having to buy or ask others for resources, because I never had to do that, never. And I always run out of speed ups first before I run out of resources. That's how it's always been, but looks like that's about to change very, very soon. But yeah, one thing I forgot to mention about healing in Zone 5. On the first day of Zone 5, I had 32 million heals and only 20 million kills, which was a okayish trade, okay, not that bad. And then at the end of Zone 5, I had 75 million heals up until the beginning of Zone 6. So 75 million heals only in Zone 5, and then from there till today, November 23rd, I have about 113 million healed troops. So my trades have gone a little bit better because also my tech has got a bit better. In this KVK, I have almost FTP tech. I didn't buy that many bundles. I only bought 3 pop-ups. I bought Crystal Supply and I bought Crystal Lucerne, which all together would sum up to about 40 bucks. Yeah. It's super low spender, but nevertheless, I tried my best to pull my weight. And now let's talk about Zone 5 reports. So in Zone 5, I used 5 marches in total, and then later in Zone 6, after the second day of Zone 6, I had to reduce my marches from 5 or 6 all the way down to 3. Because I'm super low on speed ups. I have only 300 days left, and I need to make that last up until Kingsland, because I want to fight in Kingsland, right? So that's why I reduced to 3 marches, so this way I can sustain my speed ups, get better trades, and last longer. So right now in Zone 6, just a little spoiler, I'm using the top 3 best marches in the game, which is 𝒟𝒹𝒹𝓎, 𝒟𝒹𝒹𝓎, and 𝒟𝒹𝓊𝓈 Achilles. These are the top 3 marches, the best marches you can have in the game. They all do AoE, and yeah, they perform crazy in Mother Ball. You guys will see the reports in the next video, which is about Zone 6. Now, back to Zone 5. In Zone 5, I used 5 marches, so 𝒟𝒹𝒹𝓎, 𝒟𝒹𝒹𝓎, 𝒟𝒹𝓆 with Achilles, and my Achilles at the time in Zone 5, he was not maxed. He was only at 5.454, and then on the first day of Zone 6, I maxed him. So even unmaxed, he was giving me crazy reports, because Achilles is just crazy like that. 5 target AoE? Yeah, give me that all the day. For breakfast, hell yeah. And then I used Juon with Belly Prime, I used Hugh Cubing with William, and I used Ragnar with Skippy. My worst performing marches were Huo and Ragnar. These guys, it was like almost impossible to get a positive trade. Like getting a crit from equipment was more likely than getting a positive trade out of these 2 commanders. It was insane. But nevertheless, I had to use them because, yeah, in Zone 5 we needed to have numbers, so I had to use even my worst performing commanders. So Huo, Skippy, Ragnar, yeah, these guys. But my Juon was doing fairly good. Juon was doing okay. Then I tried to do Juon Philip and Huo Belly. Huo Belly was absolute trash. Never used that march ever again. But Juon Philip absolutely cooked. I really enjoyed using Juon Philip. It was high damage, but it's like a glass cannon. So if it gets targeted, yeah, you're cooked. But it does a very high damage. And then I tried to use Scipio primary to Ragnar, because in Orleans, the thing is, you have access to auxiliary skills. And from auxiliary skills, you can get crazy amount of march speed. And for that, your marches need to be fast, otherwise you will get slowed down and boom, you are sad faced just like that. So I used Scipio primary to Ragnar because Scipio has the support talent tree, and support talent tree gives you a lot of march speed. And also it's a bit tanky. It was okay, it was doing okay, much better than Ragnar Scipio in my own experience, and I really enjoyed that march for a bit. But then eventually I had to bench that march as well in Zone 6 because, yeah, I had to save speed ups for Kingsland. And Juon Belly March was also a really good march. Like, Belly gives a debuff to enemy, making them take more damage from my marches when I'm swarming them. But then I also had to bench Belly and then use Belly Prime as an auxiliary skills on my other commanders in Zone 6. So right now in Zone 6, I have benched Juon, Belly Prime, Huo, Ragnar, Scipio, William, and I'm using some of these guys as auxiliary skills. However, enough talking about my bad commanders, let's talk about the best commanders, which the first thing comes to mind is Kinchi with Zhuge. Kinchi is an absolute beast. He got me the most amount of kills and the best reports in this KVK. Kinchi with Zhuge Liang, and I mean, these guys are just insane. Your first investment should be Kinchi Zhuge, right? Or Kinchi YSG, that one also works. And then the second best performing march in Zone 5 was 𝒟𝒹𝒹𝓎, and the third best performing march was obviously 𝒟𝒹𝓆 Achilles. However, this changed in Zone 6. In Zone 6, my 𝒟𝒹𝓆 Achilles was going toe-to-toe with Kinchi in reports. Sometimes getting even more better reports than Kinchi, right? So I guess that's because I maxed my Achilles, and he just really went crazy. He went all in. So right now my 𝒟𝒹𝓆 Achilles in Zone 6 is really cooking. Y'all will see the reports in the next video. So in short, 𝒟𝒹𝓆 Achilles in Zone 5 was my third best performing march, and in Zone 6 he's almost my best performing march after Kinchi. But in reality it's toe-to-toe, okay? And then yeah, 𝒟𝒹𝓹𝓎 was also great. Oh, and I tried to use, like, I tried to separate 𝒟𝒹𝓹𝓎 and Liuche. I tried to use 𝒟𝒹𝓹𝓎 with Philip and Liuche with Alex. The thing is, like, I only have one pincel formation and I gave it to 𝒟𝒹𝓹𝓎 Philip, and then on Liuche Alex I had to use my infantry wedge formation because I didn't have a second pencil or an arch formation. Some people said it works, and I mean, yeah, it kind of works. Liuche Alex is a great march, right? But it wasn't performing as I expected it to perform. So eventually, like, I decided to just wrap up that idea and just use 𝒟𝒹𝒹𝓎 and do not separate them. I'll tell you what though, if I had like 2 Archer March, I would have used 𝒟𝒹𝒹𝓎 with 𝒟𝒔 and 𝒟𝒑𝒏 with 𝒟𝒏, or like 𝒟𝒏 primary to 𝒟𝒑𝒏, because again we need March speed, right? Because 𝒟𝒏 does have the support tree. But yeah, I just don't have 2 Archer March because I only have 1 Archer equipment set. Maybe in future I'm gonna make a second Archer set, and in that case I would have 7 marches technically, because right now I have 6 marches. I do have 6 equipment sets, 3 for cavalry, 1 for archer, and 2 for infantry. And yeah man, who knows, maybe I'm gonna improve my current equipment, maybe I'm gonna invest in a 7th set equipment, who knows, we will see. But most likely I will not be doing that because I will never unlock 7th March, that is just too costly in crystals. And yeah, I think I'm gonna stick to 6 March, because at the end, in reality, I will reduce my marches by the time I reach to King's Land, because I'm either out of speed ups or out of resources. So I feel like it is much wiser to improve my current equipment, like level them up in iconics, rather than investing in a 7th set equipment. This is like much smarter, right? Also, another thing I did before opening of Zone 5, I pushed to VIP 18. To be honest, I was really close, like I was only 10k points away, so I just used gems. It was done on the stream, you guys can go and check it out. And I also crafted 2 accessories live on stream before opening of Zone 5. So I crafted Hilt for Arthur, which is boost to combo damage. That one really makes Achilles go crazy. And then I crafted a pendant for 𝒟𝒹𝒹𝓎, which is boost to skill damage. And 𝒟𝒹𝒹𝓎 benefits a lot from that. Like his damage goes up to the fucking roof if you have a pendant on 𝒟𝒹𝒹𝓎. So for that March, for 𝒟𝒹𝒹𝓎, you want to replace pendant with a horn, because 𝒟𝒹𝒹𝒎, they don't need a horn. They already get enough rage, especially from 𝒟𝒑𝒏. And you want to replace hilt with ring on Arthur Achilles. So I gave 1 pendant to 𝒟𝒹𝒹𝓎, I gave 1 hilt to Achilles, and now I have 1 ring and 1 horn on my hands, right? Because I took them away from 𝒟𝒹𝒹𝓎 and Arthur. And you know what was so good about it? Is that on my 6th March, which is my 2nd infantry, I had no accessories. It was only equipment. So it was literally the perfect timing, the best opportunity to give my 6th March a ring and a horn, which I took away from 𝒟𝒹𝒹𝓎 and Arthur. And now all of my 6 marches, they have full equipment and full accessories. This KVK so far, I'm at 1.1, almost 1.2 billion kill points, and I think I can push to 1.5 billion, which puts me at around 10.6 billion KP in total, which is a really great help, because next KVK I can get to 11 billion kill points really early in Zone 5, and maybe even to 12 billion kill points by the end of King's Land of the next KVK. So I mean, it's really going great, we are at a fast progress, and I'm thinking if I go T5, like next KVK, I can get even more kill points, because I will not be limited by my speed ups, and I will only be limited by resources, right? And again, if it comes to it, I'm gonna buy resources from Bazaar or from you know what. So yeah, I feel like going T5 is the safest option for me right now that I achieved my goal. It is nothing special though, like I didn't get my dick sucked, I didn't get more hoes, I didn't get more bitches. Everything is the same, and it is just a milestone being achieved by a certain daddy. Shut your bitch ass up. Yeah man, I mean that's pretty much about it, to be honest. This KVK, I also really enjoyed stacking my troops on top of each other, especially on bridge fights. That was really fun. Like when you are on a bridge and enemy is pushing you from the bridge, you can stack your marches and you get a shit ton of kill points, okay? And it's also the same when you're fighting next to a mountain, when you're hugging the wall on a mountain and you stack your troops. It gives you crazy reports, and it's just the best thing ever. But the thing is, with stacking troops, you have to do lots of micromanagement. If the ball is pushing back, then you have to go back. If the ball is pushing forward, then you have to push forward and then stack again. So it requires a bit of micromanagement, but once you get it, then you get it. This KVK, I also like put away my fear of stacking my troops on zoomed in mode. So I will stack in dot mode, right? Because I feel like it's very safe. I can control everything. Everything is under my control. But my live stream, my chat told me, hey, zoom in and try to stack zoom in. It's much better. And I tried that. It was really good. really good. But it's like the only downside is when you have your allies from different camp fighting in your ball, and they are shown as orange marches. When you zoom in, they are shown to you as red marches. So it gets a bit confusing because you don't know if they're the enemy or ally, right? And it's a bit harder to tell the difference. So in that case, I prefer to fight on dot mode. But when it's the ball is purely from my allies, like from my own alliance and my own kingdom and my own campmates, then it is safe to fight in zoomed in mode. At least that is the experience for me alone. My opinion on this KVK, I feel like it's one of my hardest KVK I've ever played in, that's for sure, especially when it's against 59, and definitely one of my hardest zone 5s as well, one of my hardest and one of my longest zone 5s ever. And if you ask me, Daddy Furious, do you have a chance? Do you think you can win this KVK? I would say yes. Even though we played defensive in zone 5, at the end we ended up losing zone 5 when we got into zone 6. Even though we are playing defensive in zone 6, I feel like we really have a good chance on winning this KVK. We will find that out very soon in a few days. Thank you for watching and bye.